Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Audio versions of the show are available on Anchor. And if you'd like to contact the show, you'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Joining me this morning to preview the last day of the season, the top four race, which is really a third and fourth bottom two race, if you like. Dean, my man from the Transfer Show, how we doing, my man?
Yeah, I've had better Sunday mornings, if I'm honest. Very, very anxious. It's like a Champions League final day or an FA Cup final day. Yeah, the arsehole is twitching, let's say.
Yeah, this is proper squeaky bum time, isn't it? When you think about it, it's incredible. I suppose let's look, first of all, before we get into the Liverpool game, let's look. I mean, they've been outstanding really in the last 4 or 5 weeks, haven't they? They've really, we did say that we were facing into 5 or 6 cup finals. And by God, they haven't let us down in the first 4 or 5. Sure, they haven't. So today is D-Day. This is the day where you get the payback for the hard work of the last 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, I think the last 10 games, I think we've something like 8 wins and 2 draws. And, I was talking to the missus last night. You sent me that video. We were chatting about just the podcast, stuff like that. But she was like, why do you seem so anxious? She just came back from the baby shower and I had a bath, and it's just a weird feeling all week, since that Alisson goal, for the euphoria we felt with the Alisson goal. Like, as soon as that happened, and you're just saying to yourself, like, we're really in with a shout now, because you think back to, I think, the end of January, we went on that miserable run. We lost 3 or 4 home games on the spin, and I was on here losing my mind, and I said, look, top 4 is gone. Like, just be resigned to not getting top 4. And I never ever in my wildest dreams imagined we'd be here today. I genuinely thought it was done. I was resigned to losing a couple of our best players in the summer. It was just like, yeah, it's just that everything just came crashing down on top of us. For the 2 years that we had winning the Champions League and winning the league, for this to happen this season, and to think like we're not even going to get Champions League football, be the laughing stock of the league, not getting to share the league trophy with the fans and all. It was like everything that could go wrong after winning the Premier League went wrong. And being here now, just, yeah, as I said, like when Alisson scored that goal last week, like, I've never felt emotion, like just pure, raw, utter euphoria. I've never felt anything like it. If my missus ever watched this, I'll probably feel that in 4 weeks when the baby comes along. But until then, I'm just in this moment. But just, yeah, and then to go on with that performance against Burnley, like, everyone, each to their own on Wednesday night, was absolutely terrific. Like, there's not one player let us down the other night. I know there was a couple of questions asked about Reece Williams, and look, I'd probably be all honest, he isn't good enough at the moment, and he probably never will be good enough to be a mainstay in the Liverpool squad. But for a 20-year-old lad to come in who played for Kidderminster Harriers last year and go up against Chris Woods and what have you, like, everybody was just outstanding. It's just coming to the fort now that everybody knows what rests on today. You know what I mean? Everybody knows what this means. Like, to have that season that we had, and like, everybody wrote us off, including Liverpool fans. To get top 4 football today, it's gonna. I'm not even being far-fetched. If we get top 4 football today, it's like winning the league. It's like winning the Champions League. It's like going up from the Championship on the last day of the season.
I don't think any team in the division, including Man City, who are an outstanding team without a shadow of a doubt, I don't think any team in that division, if they had to face what Liverpool had to face this season in terms of injuries, in terms of bad luck, Klopp's mother passing away, Alisson's father passing away, young Jordan Banks, obviously the other day, young 9-year-old who got struck by lightning playing football, who we're going to dedicate today's show to, by the way, little memory at the end of the show. But I don't think any other team would have had a hope in hell of making top 4. And it's a testament to the resilience. When we talk about mentality monsters, I mean, these guys have been shook at the foundation all season. and they've tried to knuckle down and get on with it. And even injuries, taking aside the long-term injuries, even the injuries at key moments within the season, the likes of Fabinho, Jordan Henderson, you know, Thiago, Jota, like we lost these players at key times as well, on top of what we were already dealing with. And then on top of that, the various tragedies that had happened. And then you put on top of that the move by the owners for the ESL. It's just been an absolute, we've had to climb a tidal wave this season to even get back into the top four.
We can, I reckon a movie will be made about Liverpool season of 2020, 2021. Yeah. Everything, as you said, like you could literally felt every single emotion in life with the club this season. Like people that say, but it wasn't your father that died, it wasn't your mother that died. I don't think people actually realise how invested Liverpool fans get with the club. Now, I'm not, people will always say, oh, but you're being biased because you're Liverpool fans. I'm not being biased because I'm Liverpool fans. No, you've seen it. We've gone over, like, you get people who stand outside the ground at that Hillsborough, like, memorial, like, crying their heart out. You get people, me personally.
We have.
When we went over for that Everton FA Cup game, like, that was one of the last games played at Anfield before the lockdown. When we went over for that game, when the fans were singing Never Walk Alone, I was sobbing my heart out. Like, to go from winning the league to losing Van Dijk early on in the season for the season, and then after that, it was just, that was the first domino to fall, and then it was just a chain of unnecessary events. Like at one stage, I think when I think I looked at an injury list for Liverpool for this, I think nearly every single player in the Liverpool squad has been injured at some stage or had COVID at some stage in the season. Yeah. And I don't give a shit what any other fan says from any other club. There's no way in hell, regardless of Man City squad, if they were to lose Diaz for the season and say De Bruyne for the length of time that we've been without Henderson, Alisson being out injured, say Foden was out with COVID, there's no way in hell, there's not an absolute chance in hell that they'd be top of the league. Now they probably might have won the league, but it wouldn't have been as close, or wouldn't have been as dominant as it looks.
Well, I don't think they would have, because to be honest with you, if you compare this season to last season, when they had a number of injury worries and they had to drop Fernandinho back into defence, like what we had to do with Fabinho, look at what happened to their season. So there's no guarantees really. But I just, you know, you hear, you know, most of the neutral fans, you know, aren't coming out talking about this being the worst defence of the title and all this kind of stuff, because they are smart enough to understand what Liverpool Football Club has gone through this year. And I mean, you know, when you think about it, when you put this all in context, we're 5 points off Man United, who are having a good season. And we've had our worst season. When you think about it, like our season couldn't have gone any worse if you look at our home record and everything else. Just before we get into, I suppose, I mean, we have to give a shout out to Nat Phillips, don't we? I mean, he's absolutely
Nathaniel Baresi, as they say in the game nowadays.
I mean, he's been an absolute pillar, hasn't he? I mean, this lad just wins balls, takes bodies, does everything, and then for him to go up and score. I mean, between the Alisson goal and him, outstanding. Like, just
what got me about him was after the game when he was asked, "Well, Nat, your first goal for the club, the goal line clearance, which was more important, than calm as you like, goal line cleared every day of the week. Yeah. But you scored your first goal for Liverpool. Yeah, but my job as a defender is to stop goals going in." And I'm like, how is this fella so, like? Let's be real, right? If that was me, I was saying this to me dad. If I was a Liverpool fan, right, and I played for Liverpool and scored my first goal, I'd probably still be running around Turfmoor now in my kit, celebrating.
In your nailed.
I was gonna say that, but it's barely in the morning. Kids might be listening. We talk about important moments in the season and seasons that are moments that have defined our season. Nat Phillips was on the verge of signing for Swansea in the summer, and the deal fell through. This was after he originally decided to go to America, I believe, to take up a scholarship, and he kind of had second thoughts about it. He had a good offer came in from Swansea, and that fell through. And it mightn't seem much when you think, because it's just Nat Phillips, and you know, like someone else could have stepped in. with the way the season went and the injuries we've had at the defence, I think if Nat Phillips goes to Swansea and things took a different route, I don't think we'd be sitting here now, in this position. A lot of people will think differently, but for a fella like to just be on the verge of just giving up football altogether and come in and I was going to put him in my team of the season, but Wayne might be like, fuck off, Diaz has to be in there, and then Ian would be saying, where's Rudiger? But he definitely 100%, whether he's playing for Liverpool or not, he deserves a shout to be in the team of the year. The pressure on that lad to come in and face some of the best attacking players in the world and stood up like a brick wall. As Jamie Carragher said, if a double-decker bus was thrown at him, he'd head it away.
Absolutely. So I knew we'd have to give him a shout out. Let's look at the 3 key games today. Obviously, I mean, this is like proper squeaky bum time at this stage. I mean, first up, I suppose that the leaders that are there just ahead of us, Chelsea away to Aston Villa. That's a massive game. Not a nice place to go. They'll have fans back. I know from previous experience going to Villa Park and experiencing Villa Park, it's a tough old place to go. Grealish is back. They're bang on form. They're coming off a huge one. Ollie Watkins is on fire. Could you see an upset there today, or do you think Chelsea will just go in with Tuchel and be professional and get the job done?
It's a lot riding on this for Chelsea as well. Tuchel, he can't rest players, but then and again, in the back of his mind, he's got a Champions League final next week, and I don't care how professional players are. There's definitely players in that Chelsea squad who, in the back of their mind, are thinking, if I get injured here and miss, Chelsea may go on next season and be better than they were this season. Well, they probably definitely will. With a couple more recruits and a full pre-season with a Tuchel, but that Champions League final is definitely playing in the back of their minds. And as you said, look what Villa did to us when we were full strength. They've got Grealish back. Ollie Watkins is on fire. Like, there's some really, really good players in that Villa team. And as you said, the fans being back at Villa Park, I was there years and years and years ago. That place, like Anfield today, you might only have 5 or 10% of the fans in it, but it'll sound like it's full, 100%. And Villa looking to finish on a high. I'm not sure of the league table. If results go their way, can they get Europa League football? I'm not 100% sure.
Not too sure.
But I don't want to. I don't want to say that Villa will get points, but my head is definitely saying that there's a chance of an upset there. Like, it's not gonna be a surprise if Villa do win.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time where a final day of the Premier League has meant so much to so many teams. I mean, it's incredible to think that these 3 teams are pushing for those last 2 spots, and yet it's so tight. It has come so tight. We were so far off that race, and to come back into it, and we kind of knew Leicester would fall away somewhat and wouldn't be able to maintain what they had. We knew West Ham would fall away. We knew Spurs would fall away. So we knew if anyone was going to create a top 4 race, it had to be us, and we knew what we had to do. Let's look, Leicester, Spurs. I mean, Spurs seem all over the place. Ryan Mason there, really not the man for the job. He kind of seems all over the place in the way I mean, why are they calling him? They're calling him Ryan Mates at the moment because he's picking his mates, not the team and all. Kane came out once away. We'll be talking about it in the transfer show, no doubt. Can you see a situation where Spurs could upset Leicester today?
No, this is the one game this weekend that could literally go so wrong for Liverpool. Like, Leicester, the way Spurs are at the moment, Leicester could easily go out there and hit them for 5 or 6. I'm not saying that being a bit OTT, but the way Spurs are playing, they could go out and get annihilated with Leicester. But the thing is also, Leicester looked demoralised after that Chelsea game. Spurs could easily go out. Today isn't going to be like real plain sailing. Like, Palace could easily shock Liverpool. Leicester could go out and put 4 or 5 or 6 past Spurs. but Spurs could also turn up. Harry Kane could bang in a hat-trick and beat Leicester. Villa, this is like your good old relegation last day of the season battle. You know, this is there's gonna be 5 or 6 twists and turns today. That's why I'm so anxious today.
Yeah.
Is that Klopp said that he won't be telling. There'll be nothing being mentioned about the Leicester and Chelsea scores. That's definitely going to play in the back of the minds of a lot of Liverpool players. You know,
it's a real split screen day, is it? Where you need the 3 matches on, like, isn't it?
The good old days. Yeah. Nowadays, it's just have the telly on, a laptop, and a tablet. But back in the good old days, when Sky Sports weren't miserable bastards, you had the option of watching the 2 games at once.
Remember they used to have all the games on the screen, and as soon as something happened at a game, that game would shoot up and fill out the screen. It was awesome. I used to love watching that.
Today is going to be like that. I'd love to be sitting second in the table like Man United, be already qualified and sit back and relax and watch it. The fact that we're in the middle of it, every time the phone pings today, I get to watch the Liverpool match on my phone today, but every time the phone pings, because you're obviously going to have the score from the Leicester game and the score, and you're just going to be sitting there and you're like, please.
Yeah. Someone else look at this and tell me, will you?
and I'm sure that our upper tier buddies are going to be watching this now when it goes up, but I'm sure Wayne, Darren, Ian, I'm sure they'll be sitting there at the ready. The United lads be sitting with their PJs on and their pajamas, and they'll be resting up with the arms behind their head, and they'll be like, come on, Chelsea, come on, Leicester. Fuck those Liverpool bastards.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I suppose if you look at United, it would favour United probably for Liverpool to get in, because if you look at the way the transfer news is unfolding, a lot of the targets that Chelsea have are also targets that United have. And you would think if Chelsea fell out of the top 4, automatically that decision would switch to United in terms of football transfers, and then they wouldn't be getting into a kind of a bidding war for these players to pay more money and stuff. So you never know. There's a lot of things that have to be decided. Also, we have the Golden Boot, so I'm sure Harry Kane would love to finish out the season with the Golden Boot, going into a potential move and a transfer. I mean, that's going to whack 10 million on his fee anyway. So I'm sure he's going to be up. He's going to be up for it today, and he's been, up in the last few weeks. He's kind of been a little bit poor, you know what I mean? So he needs to kind of step up. But we also have our own friend, the Egyptian King, who's banging the mix for that Golden Boot as well. So he should be looking to bag a few today as well. So there's so many things on the line today.
Mo, if you're watching, if by somehow in this crazy world you're on YouTube this morning and you come across the upper tier lad preview of Liverpool versus Crystal Palace, I have you as triple captain. I saved it for today at home versus Palace. I'm 1 point behind their league leader. Score 4, will you? Please. I'll convert to Muslim for you.
And when you pick up the ball, hit it first time. Don't worry about taking an extra touch. Just hit it first time.
I was watching that game the other night, right, against Burnley. If he, there's still people that say he's a one-season wonder, right? He's on target now today to get his 3rd Golden Boot in the Premier League. If he had more belief in himself, he'd score about 50 goals a season.
I was saying that to Ben last night. I was saying, although he's in the mix for the Golden Boot, 19 goals. I mean, I think he scored a hat-trick on the first day, didn't he?
He's scored goals in less games than he's not scored, and yet he's still on 20. What's it, 20 or 21? 20.
Yeah, no,
he's on 20 with Kane.
Yeah,
and as much as I want to win my league and the fantasy football, I'll take Champions League football over Mo winning the Golden Boot every day of the week. It's just the fact that it's Harry Kane, and there's still doubters out there about Mo Salah. My opinion is being the best winger in football who's playing as a striker in the last 4 years.
I think if there's any fan out there that doubts Mo Salah, they really need to find a new sport to follow. To be honest,
I'm sure Jose Mourinho still doubts him.
I'd say Jose Mourinho was sick in the way that it happened. But I mean, I suppose the ideal situation for us is to go out and beat Crystal Palace comfortably and Mo to bag a hat-trick, so he gets the Golden Boot and we get the Champions League spot.
A 6-0 win, Mo gets a hat-trick and three assists.
3 assists, and I just ramp away with me fantasy football league.
Do you see? How do you feel about a situation if Chelsea were to fall out of the top 4 today?
I'm not necessarily. I appreciate good football. That's why I appreciate the Man City team, but I don't appreciate Pep Guardiola. I know Ian and Wayne will probably have something to say about my opinion. I just don't like Chelsea and Man City because I find them to be quite plastic. You know, it's gone back a long time. There's a bit of a hatred there with Chelsea and Liverpool. That's why just necessarily on that point of disliking the club, I'd love Chelsea to miss out on Champions League football. Yeah, it's a weird one because if they finish 5th but win the Champions League, they still get Champions League football.
But that's a roll of a dice you don't really want to be doing, is it?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like what I said at the start there about the Chelsea game, there's 100%, and the manager as well. There's heads going to be in next Saturday, and they just cannot afford that today. He can't afford to rest players. You know, he needs to go with his strongest 11, and they shouldn't really be in this situation.
I suppose because they're so spoiled with their squad. I mean, there's players that have to show up today to try and play themselves into that final because it's not a given with the way he's changed things this season.
But this is it, Noel. Like the squad he has, but yeah, he still doesn't seem to trust any of them. Like for me, like I've been raving about Giroud all season. He's Chelsea's best attacker. I will argue till I'm blue in the face with any Chelsea fan who argues that point with me. Because 70-80% of those chances that Timo Werner misses, Giroud scores, in my opinion. And if he takes those chances and Werner doesn't, Chelsea are probably second in the league. And you look at the start of the season, like the first, like up to Christmas, Chelsea shouldn't be in the situation. Chelsea are like us; they shouldn't be in the situation that they're in.
Yeah.
But it's down to their own, like probably Tuchel's mistakes or lack of like that, not winner's mentality, but that like Werner and Havertz and Ziyech, like they fits and starts. They've had great moments in the season, but when it came down to it, they haven't stepped up like ourselves. But they're like us. They shouldn't be in the situation that they're in. And if they don't get Champions League football and then they go on next week and lose the Champions League final, for me they can't really have any complaints because, as I said, they've had the opportunity that they shouldn't be going in today and like looking at we have to win or we need someone else to lose. So that's what I'm looking at. You look at Leicester as well. Like for us, we shouldn't be in this position. So as much as there's pressure on us, like Klopp is going to go in and say, look, lads, we don't deserve to be getting Champions League football this season. The pressure is on Leicester and the pressure is on Chelsea because Leicester should have been home and hosed as well. Leicester had the opportunity to go and finish second. They fucked it up with a couple of bad results as well. So whatever happens today, if we don't get Champions League football, we've been bad all season up until the last few weeks. So nobody can turn around after today and say, look, Liverpool didn't get Champions League football. If anything, if Leicester or Chelsea miss out on it, that should be the focus point of, oh, well, how good were Leicester up until this point in the season where they dropped off? And look at Chelsea. They got the opportunity to guarantee themselves Champions League football and they dropped off. Whereas we were looking at finishing 7th or 8th. And we went on a run at the like when it came down to it, the important point of the season. And now we're best placed to get that Champions League football.
Yeah. I can only imagine the internet fans if you had a situation with Chelsea where, and I don't see it happening, but imagine a situation you lose the FA Cup, you drop out of the top 4, and then you potentially use the Champions League to Man City. I mean, good Lord, imagine those Chelsea fans.
That as well, like because they're all talking about Sancho might be coming in, or Haaland might be coming in, or Lukaku might be coming in, or Varane might be coming in. If Chelsea miss out on Champions League football, you know, you're going from your A targets to your D targets. How many times were we in that situation where the manager had a list of players that he wanted and the fans were getting excited about it, and then we missed out on Champions League football, and it was a case of, right, well, we're not going to get our first target, second target, third target. We'll get this fella who's about 10 or 11 million, and it's not going to work out at all. We've been in that boat so many times, and now look at the situation for Liverpool. There's talks of, and I always say it's the pipe dream, but there's talk of Liverpool get Champions League football, that Mbappe is more than happy to sign for Liverpool. Yeah. There's talk of Mane going to Dortmund, which is going to give us 80 million towards that deal. As much as I think that he'd go to Real Madrid, Nike aren't going to want their big name to go and play for Real Madrid with the whole Adidas deal, you know. Like, as I said, it's the pipe dream, but yeah. There's talk of Pedro Goncalves, Mbappe, the Canate deal. Like, it looks like it's going through now. Like,
yeah, it's a huge monumental day. This will be a day to look back on in the history of the club. I know, like, all the finals and the trophies and everything else that happens, but when you look at these days, these are the days that really define whether you move on to that next step. In terms of attracting in the right quality of player that we want, and in terms of setting out a plan for the next 3 to 5 years. And I think it's so pivotal today for us, and pivotal for any other team who has to get in there as well. Obviously, it's important to Chelsea, and it would be huge for Leicester. But I do think today, I think our experience of these things should see us through. We've been here before. We've been in that pressure cooker environment, and I think we know how to deal with it. I mean, you've seen it in the West Brom game, pressure cooker environment, you know, 94th minute, Alisson goes up, scores, pressure cooker environment at Turf Moor. So this is normal for us. But I think today with fans back in the ground, you know, and I think, you know, there's just so much there has gone our way this time. To fall at this last hurdle would be so pivotal and so disappointing in terms of looking into that transfer window. Because let's be honest, if we end up with Thursday night football, Mbappe is not playing Thursday night football for no one.
Not a hope. Not a hope.
You know what I mean? And this is the difference. And I know we talk about Mbappe and it is the pipe dream, and it's nice to be linked with him. And he did come out himself and say that he'd have no problem playing for Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp as well. So he's obviously thinking that way as well. There's a connection there with LeBron as well. So there's a lot of things going for us that could happen.
There's like with the LeBron team, like FSG over the last 3 years has been made in a massive effort with Mbappe and his family. We've heard of the story of the 2.5 hour private jet ride, you know, treated like royalty. Klopp is regularly on the phone with him. Look, if it doesn't work out, we're not here saying we get Champions League football, we sign Mbappe. Like, as I've said it for months, it's the pipe dream. But the fact that we're even being mentioned, there was a time where Liverpool were signing Andre Boran and
Paul Konchesky,
Christian Pulsen. Like, look how far we've come on. And I know Wayne will probably be looking and saying, "Oh, fucking idiot," because me and Wayne aren't really seeing eye to eye at the moment. Like, we don't have the money City have. Okay, we've kind of steadily built an empire. If Liverpool were to sign Kylian Mbappe, like, that's the biggest signing the club's made in I think everyone's history as a Liverpool fan. Like, it's just the fact that it's fathomable now. Like, the fact that these things are realistic. Look, I do think he'll go to Real Madrid, but I just, you know, Van Dijk coming back next year, Henderson coming back, Van Dijk coming out publicly. For me, any other player in football is going to the Euros after that injury and still having the option of going. Van Dijk coming out and saying, "Look, I want to go, but I am ready, but I'm not fully ready to give everything I have." Van Dijk knows that next season is Liverpool 2.0. I'm not coming out and saying next year is going to be our year. Anything that could go wrong this season went wrong, okay? Van Dijk comes back next season. Jordan Henderson is back next season. You know, Konate might be coming in. I'd be happy.
Joe Gomez.
Joe Gomez, but I'd be more than happy to for Nat Phillips to partner Virgil van Dijk. You know what I mean? Whereas if you'd have said that at the start of the season, you'd be like, you're on crack, mate. Yeah. You know, Mo looks happier than ever now the last couple of months. We need to get that deal sorted out.
Bobby showing a bit of form again.
To just say something about Bobby there, just I'm glad you brought his name up. I'd love rival fans to come on now and tell me how shit Bobby Firmino is. Well, here's one for you. In a down season for Bobby Firmino, he's scored equal or more league goals than Riyad Mahrez, Gabriel Jesus, Phil Foden, Ferran Torres, Kevin De Bruyne, Mason Greenwood, Martial, Paul Pogba, every player at Chelsea, Pepe and Saka. So if this is a bad season for Bobby Firmino, can't wait till he has a good one.
Yeah, I think when we judge players, though, we judge them based on their own high level of expectation, not so much a comparison, you know. I mean, if you look at Bobby Firmino will be the first one to put up his hand and say he's had a really poor season. But having said that, we know what Bobby Firmino is capable of. And I think the level of expectation and the level that he sets the bar to, he's been way off that this season. And comparable to those guys, it doesn't really matter. It's incomparable to the level that he reaches, you know. Same with Mo and the same with Sadio. I mean, Sadio's had a terrible season as well by his level of expectation.
Yeah,
and he even came out and admitted he'd had a terrible season. So they know where their level is at, you know.
As I said, Noel, as I said a few weeks ago about Liverpool, the lads have been playing at 200% for 3 years, okay? And then this season comes around. And we always talk about great teams. Every team goes through a recycling process, you know, where you need to bring in fresh faces. Liverpool hadn't got that this year. Any time that we got a little bit of momentum, somebody got injured. Everyone's saying that for us to bring in a world-class attacker, one of the front three has to go. I disagree with that completely because there's talk of FSG, if we get Champions League football, are going to invest. Today is probably going to be the last game for Adrian, Gini Wijnaldum, Shaq, Origi, possibly Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. You know, there's money gonna come in from those transfers, other than Wijnaldum obviously leaving on a free. But for me, Bobby, the Sadio Mane, I said it a while back. I think you probably remember when I said he's feeling the pressure more than anyone. Like Bob was kind of held the fort as it is. Bobby, he was never necessarily the goal scorer. He was more the engine in the attack, you know, and he still provides that. But on more times than not, he's kind of fell away from performance, like the level of his performances. But Sadio, you can see it in him when he's coming off. He's like, I didn't score, another shit performance. He brings that on himself. He talks about mental health a lot. He gets away in the summer. He doesn't have a major tournament to go to. You know, a break with his family, probably get to go home for a while, you know, get that good mindset back again. Like, Jota coming back, like, that front four is good enough to win Liverpool another league, you know. But if and it's a big if again about Mbappe, if Liverpool are looking to sell one of the front three, and this is no disrespect to Sadio Mane, out of the front three, he's the one to sell, I think, because Bobby will always put in a shift, you know, and Bobby will, for what we were talking about, Bobby can sit deeper in the midfield, which then again drags out defenders because we know what he can do with a football. There's so many options for Bobby Firmino.
It's mouth-watering to think that you could have a situation where Mbappe and Bobby Firmino are playing together, isn't it? When you think of that level of skill, like, it's scary.
We were talking about yesterday on one of our groups, and I was talking like, what's your dream Liverpool 11 next year? And I was like, you have to be realistic. But realistic for me is like, you're not going to sign Messi or you're not going to sign Ronaldo. But the fact that you can be realistic and say that you could have a front three next year of Kylian Mbappe, Mo Salah, and Sadio Mane, like, that's fucking, like, that's mental, like.
And not only that, you could have a situation where Bobby drops back into more of a forward midfield role, with the leaving of Gini Wijnaldum, and you still have Jota potentially on the bench.
You still have Jota potentially on the bench. Curtis Jones is going to step up again next year. Like, that lad is an absolute baller. If we were to get I'm going to say this the last time. I'm not going to mention it again because I think we've mentioned him too much in this podcast. If we were to get Mbappe right and he's playing out on the left, Mane's playing on the right, and Mo's playing up through the middle, right, and then you have Fabinho sitting in front of the defence with Henderson, and then you have Thiago. But like, you have the rotation. Then you can play Bobby Firmino in the Thiago position. You know what I mean? There's so many options there. That's why I'm excited for next year. As anxious as I am now about today, I'm just thinking, best case scenario, we get the win today, we qualify for Champions League football, and then we can just enjoy the summer. We can sit back and look at good players coming in, because Klopp is staying, FSG are willing to invest. You've got the Nike deal, it's freed up. I was reading a report on it the other day on The Athletic, that the Nike deal is going to kick in this summer because they couldn't do anything last year. There's so much there's so many positive things going to happen in the club in the summer. Just fingers crossed we get that today.
Right. Put it on the line here. Who misses out?
Oh, my head is saying Chelsea, but you always go with your heart, and I think it's going to be Leicester.
I would have thought it'd be the other way around for you, that your heart to be saying Chelsea, because that's what you'd want, and your head to be saying Leicester. I don't know. I look, it's going to be disappointing for whichever team misses out, you know, so long as it's not us.
Before you go, I'm not saying Liverpool there because I'm confident. I'm not saying that we're going to do it. I just don't even want to put that name in the bracket of missing out on Champions League football.
No.
Don't worry, I'm thinking about it, but I'm not. No, just don't. I don't even want to think about it.
We're gonna say positive about this all the way. I don't know. I'm worried about Villa today against Chelsea. I just think that Villa team can just show up and battle away and kick away and get a result. And remember, even a draw doesn't help Chelsea. They have to get a win as well. That's the way it's set up. I ultimately think Leicester, will miss out, but I'm very concerned. Going to Villa Park, I'd be concerned about that. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, everything crossed, destiny, this means more, all that kind of stuff. Let's get out there, boys, and do the business today. And I'd like to say, we have to mention, we're dedicating the show to the memory of Jordan Banks, of course. And you mentioned to me earlier that his family had made a pilgrimage throughout the night from Blackpool to Anfield to lay a wreath at the ground. Wonderful thing for them to do and stuff like that. So obviously, hopefully, his spirit is looking down on us today with a bit of luck.
No, just before you go, can I just the Liverpool youth team are playing in the FA Youth Cup final tomorrow night. Just want to wish the lads best of luck against Aston Villa. Just want to say, Kitman Graham Carter, 35 plus years at the club. He retires after today. In Klopp's words, the best kitman he's ever had. And it looks like it could be the last game for Shaq, Origi, possibly Ox, Adrian, but one Genie Wijnaldum. 236 games for Liverpool, 22 goals, champion of everything. He has a smile that we all love, that infectious smile. I'd love him to stay. But I think it's pastures new for him, and I just want to say thanks for everything. And you'll never be forgotten at the club for, even if it's just for one performance, that special night.
Absolutely. And of course, we'd like to send out our condolences to Jordan Banks' family, and we hope today, if we get the right result, they dedicate the game to his memory, and it gives them a little bit of solace and a little bit of strength being a member of the Liverpool family and stuff like that.
He'll be smiling down today. He'd definitely be smiling down today.
Absolutely. So until next time, YouTube, Dynamo Podcast Network, as always, head over there, subscribe, bell notification button, like, share, everything you need to do. Audio versions of the show are on Anchor. And if you want to hit us up, you'll get us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Upper Tier. Pleasure as always, my man. Here we go.
Liverpool, they're a football club steeped in history of spine-tingling glory and at times truly heartbreaking tragedy. But when you are part of Liverpool Football Club, you'll never walk alone.